Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is Fisk University at the 21st Century. And we're fortunate to have with us the president of Fisk University, President H. JWilliams. And he will give us some information in reference to his background, education, and some of his experiences, and then we'll get into other topics dealing with this institution. President Williams, let me welcome you to the show this morning, and to tell you how delighted we are to have you here, because we've had many opportunities to interview people from Fisk University, and we understand the importance of Fisk and how it has been able to, in a real sense, lay the foundation for what we call historical black institutions of higher education. But before we get into that, President Williams, let's give you an opportunity to talk about your background, your education, and some of your experiences for the sake of our audience this morning that brought you to Fisk University, and then we'll start talking about coming to Fisk and then get into some other issues later on.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me onto the show. I understand you're an icon in this area and have been around and doing it well for many, many years. I congratulate you on that.
I appreciate that.
And again, thank you. I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Parents are both ministers, AME ministers. I have two sisters, in fact, who are ministers as well. My parents were also pastors. And so I grew up in a household devoted to Christ and to worship and to doing the right things. And my parents, while they didn't go to school, they didn't go to college, they finished the 9th and 8th grades respectively, understood how important education was. And they pounded that, if you will, into us throughout our childhood. And they made sure that we did the things that we should do. They made sure that we didn't have distractions, that we could go to school. I missed one day out of 12 years of going from K to 12. And they made sure that I was in school. But when I got ready to go to school, they couldn't really help me that much. Now, luckily for me, my sister was ahead of me. She was 3 years ahead of me, and she went to North Carolina Central University. And while she was a senior there, she encouraged me. I didn't even know that I should apply to any other universities for that matter. But I applied and went to North Carolina Central University, and I was a freshman when she was a senior. And she took care of me, as only a big sister can, I guess. Gave me direction and guidance, and she provided the assistance, if you will, that my parents, quite frankly, weren't equipped to provide because they didn't have that kind of experience. And so she concluded that I needed to major in business. I was a history major to begin, and she was a history major. And what she said to me is, you know what? I can't find a job, but those folks in business are finding jobs. You need to change your major to business. like a dutiful younger brother, I agreed, and I acquiesced and moved to business, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's never had a better situation for yourself.
No, not at all. And the other thing that was so critical, and one of the reasons that HBCUs are so important, quite frankly, is I found there what I didn't have available to me, if you will, at home. Because my parents loved me, and they gave me everything I needed in terms of how I should conduct myself and the kind of discipline I needed to be successful. But they couldn't tell me about college, and they couldn't help me decide what was a good major for myself. But when I got to NCCU, those folks were there, they were nurturing, they took me by the arm and said, you know what, you're pretty good at this, why don't you consider accounting? I decided I would do that. I didn't even know what a CPA was, quite frankly. But they said, don't you want to be a certified public accountant? Absolutely. If you have to be good to be a CPA, I want to be a CPA. And so indeed, I became a certified public accountant. But I went through the accounting program there at NCCU and went into public accounting. I worked with one of the then Big 8 accounting firms, one of the international firms. And that was a great experience, even at that time, in 1977, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And quite frankly, I had job offers all over the East Coast, but I went back to Winston-Salem because I had a younger brother, 7 years my junior, whom I really wanted to have a positive influence on, quite frankly. So I went back there and had public accounting experience that really, put me in a very enviable position because we audited so many great firms. And I was one of only 2 African Americans in the office of 85 professionals. But they gave me a lot of great opportunities. And I audited, the big companies like R.J. Reynolds and Wachovia Bank and what was then Piedmont Airlines. And so I got a lot of great experience. So I wanted to become a partner of a CPA firm. And they said to me, well, James, now that you're a CPA, I had passed the CPA exam right out of undergrad. They said, all you have to do is work hard.
Okay.
And you could become a partner.
Okay, and President Williams, we're going to have to take our first commercial break, and then we'll get back and we'll pick right up at that point. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.
Well,